In the summer of 1943, at Camp Crossville, Tennessee, a German prisoner stared in fascination at the dark, bubbling drink inside a bottle, something entirely unfamiliar to him. After 2 years of hardship in North Africa, surviving mostly on hard biscuits and ersatz coffee, this sweet, fizzy beverage called Coca-Cola seemed like a miracle made real. It cost only 5 cents at the camp canteen, a price the guards said American children routinely pay from their pocket money. All across American POW camps that season, 371,683 German prisoners were confronted with a reality that contradicted everything Nazi propaganda had taught them about the supposed weakness of the United States. They discovered a country where ice cream was an everyday dessert, soft drinks were normal refreshments, and candy bars were so plentiful that guards sometimes handed them out for free. These simple treats, many of which German children had never tasted, gradually dismantled Nazi ideology far more effectively than any official propaganda effort. The overwhelming abundance of sugar, carbonation, chocolate, and ice cream revealed an American industrial output that made Germany's hardship look not like heroic sacrifice, but unnecessary suffering. What began as astonishment over American sweets eventually led to a profound psychological shift. The surrender of the Afrika Korps in Tunisia in May 1943 brought around 250,000 German and Italian troops into Allied custody. These seasoned desert fighters, who had once driven the British back to Egypt under Rommel, expected brutal treatment as POWs. Nazi propaganda had convinced them the Americans would starve or mistreat them. But within hours of surrender, they were given American K rations, meals U.S. soldiers often complain about, yet which seemed like lavish banquets to the Germans. The rations contained crackers, processed cheese, candy, fruit bars, instant coffee, sugar tablets, and cigarettes. To men who had lived for months on insufficient supplies, these emergency meals felt like feasts. Military reports from North African processing camps show that POWs were served pancakes with syrup, fresh eggs, and milk, foods that had disappeared from German rations long before. America's practice of feeding enemy soldiers better than those soldiers had been fed by their own army began immediately, even though the psychological effects would take time to surface. One German officer later told the International Red Cross, "We expected to be starved as prisoners. Instead, the Americans fed us better than our own army had." That confusion about American resources was the beginning of our education. The journey to the United States intensified this education in abundance. Liberty ships, mass-produced at astonishing speed, one finished every 42 hours at peak, transported up to 30,000 prisoners each month across the Atlantic. Naval records reveal that POW rations on board matched or exceeded standard crew meals, about 3,500 calories a day, including fresh bread, meat, vegetables, and sweetened coffee with milk. The ship's standard refrigeration equipment preserved fresh food for the entire crossing. Remarkably, accounts confirm that ice cream was served multiple times at sea. The log of the USS General M.B. Stewart shows that on July 4, 1943, ice cream was made and served using the ship's onboard machine, which could produce 10 gallons per batch. For prisoners who hadn't seen ice cream since before the war, enjoying it in the middle of the ocean was almost beyond comprehension. Upon arrival at ports like Norfolk and Newport News, German POWs encountered a version of America that Nazi propaganda had insisted did not exist. Norfolk Naval Base, spanning 4,300 acres, handled more cargo each day than major German ports managed in a week. At port exchange shops, prisoners saw shelves filled with brand-name candy bars from Hershey, Mars, and Nestle. Procurement documents from 1943 confirm that these stores carried dozens of varieties, all priced at 5 cents, the same cost seen everywhere in the country. The train ride inland provided further lessons. Instead of the cramped cattle cars used in Europe, German POWs traveled in passenger coaches with dining cars that served full meals. Menus from July 1943 list fried chicken, vegetables, pie, and coffee. Prisoners soon learned that this wasn't special treatment, it was standard American rail service. Across the United States, POW camps were built to standards far above the minimum required by the Geneva Convention. Camp Crossville, typical of many larger camps, had electric lights, running hot water, flush toilets, and heated barracks. But the Camp PX stores left the deepest impression. Quartermaster records show that exchanges routinely carried multiple soft drink brands, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, RC Cola, along with a variety of candy bars, ice cream when refrigeration allowed, cigarettes, fresh fruit, snacks, and low-alcohol beer. Prisoners earned 80 cents a day for labor, later raised to $1. Since candy bars and Coca-Cola cost only 5 cents, a full day's wage could buy 16 items, an unimaginable level of access for men who came from a country where such treats required ration coupons or personal connections. Coca-Cola in particular became a symbol of American industrial might. Company archives show that 5 billion bottles were produced in 1943 alone. The U.S. military contract ensured that the drink cost 5 cents worldwide, a logistical feat requiring huge coordination. Most German soldiers had never even heard of Coca-Cola before capture, and now it seemed to be everywhere in America. Camps received weekly shipments, work details observed vending machines and coolers in countless places, from gas stations to factories to schools. Americans drank it freely, often tossing aside half-finished bottles. Technically minded prisoners were astonished that Coca-Cola tasted identical in every region, a level of standardized production unmatched by German industry. Records indicate that many camps received 200 to 300 cases each week, and Camp Hearn, Texas alone consumed about 7,000 bottles weekly in summer 1943. Ice cream also astonished the prisoners. Army documents confirm that camps with proper refrigeration served ice cream frequently during summer. The U.S. military considered it vital for morale, so important that specialized ice cream ships were built for the Pacific Theater. At Camp Shelby, Mississippi, the July 4, 1943 celebration included ice cream made on-site in hand-cranked freezers. The ease with which Americans used ice, cream, and sugar for entertainment foods baffled the Germans. By 1944, many camps had electric ice cream machines producing flavors like chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and butter pecan, more variety than many German shops had before the war. Frozen treats typically cost 10 cents, and large camps ordered 50 to 100 gallons weekly during summer. American sugar usage delivered an especially striking contrast. In Germany, sugar was tightly rationed. Civilians received only 280 grams per month when it was available. But in American camps, sugar bowls sat openly on mess hall tables. Quartermaster records show weekly deliveries of 100-pound bags to many camps. Bakers used sugar liberally in cakes, cookies, and pies. Coffee, tea, and cereals were sweetened freely. One incident at Camp Aliceville, Alabama, illustrates the waste that shocked German prisoners. In August 1943, humidity hardened several hundred pounds of sugar. Instead of restoring it, kitchen workers threw it out and ordered more. German POWs in the kitchen reportedly found this deeply upsetting. Chocolate consumption revealed similar abundance. Major American manufacturers Hershey, Mars, Nestle continued producing millions of chocolate bars every month despite wartime limits. The U.S. military alone bought 380 million pounds of chocolate during the war. Camp exchanges stocked many varieties, priced between 5 and 10 cents. Americans even had favorite brands, choosing casually among them. Red Cross parcels, delivered monthly, included chocolate bars along with instant coffee, cheese, crackers, canned meat, cigarettes, and soap. These packages supplemented regular rations, providing luxury items that exceeded what German civilians received as basic rations. Thanksgiving 1943 introduced German prisoners to American holiday abundance. This purely American celebration demonstrated national coordination of consumption that dwarfed German organizational efforts. Army records confirm that all prison camps served traditional Thanksgiving dinner: roast turkey with stuffing, mashed potatoes and gravy, sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, vegetables, pumpkin pie, coffee and milk. The logistics required providing turkey dinners to 425,000 horsepower millions of American servicemen worldwide showcased organizational capacity. The fact that German prisoners received the same meal as American soldiers emphasized equality of treatment that contradicted Nazi racial hierarchy. Christmas 1943 brought unexpected generosity from American civilians. Church groups, civic organizations, and individuals sent packages to German POWs. The American Friends Service Committee alone distributed 50,000 Christmas packages to enemy prisoners. These packages typically contained homemade cookies, candy, toiletries, games and books, cigarettes, writing materials. Local communities near camps often provided additional support. In Tonkawa, Oklahoma, townspeople delivered homemade treats to German prisoners at Camp Tonkawa. In Hearn, Texas, church groups brought Christmas cookies and candy to Camp Herne. This civilian kindness toward enemies challenged Nazi ideology fundamentally. Americans who had family members fighting against Germany nevertheless showed charity to German prisoners, demonstrating strength through mercy rather than vengeance. As labor shortages intensified, German POWs worked increasingly outside camps, witnessing American food production firsthand. By 1944, approximately 100,000 prisoners worked in agriculture and food processing, gaining intimate knowledge of American abundance. In Michigan orchards, prisoners picked cherries destined for maraschino production, those bright garnishes topping ice cream sundaes. The volume staggered them. Single orchards producing tons of fruit for decorative purposes. At canneries, prisoners observed quality control that rejected perfectly edible food for minor imperfections. Del Monte records from 1944 show that approximately 15% of fruit was rejected for canning due to size irregularities or minor blemishes, typically diverted to animal feed. Sugar beet processing in Colorado and Nebraska revealed agricultural mechanization beyond German achievement. Single farms produced more sugar beets than entire German regions. Prisoners learned that American sugar production from both cane and beets reached approximately 7 million tons annually, explaining the casual abundance they witnessed. German prisoners working near schools witnessed early versions of organized school lunch programs. Children received hot lunches including milk, protein, and vegetables. The National School Lunch Act would formalize this in 1946, but precedent programs operated during the war. The milk program particularly impressed German observers. Many schools provided fresh milk to children daily. The logistics of daily delivery to thousands of schools demonstrated organizational capacity that Germany couldn't achieve for military supplies. Some school cafeterias offered ice cream for additional purchase. The concept of children buying frozen desserts at school while German children faced food shortages created profound impact among prisoner observers. When minimum security prisoners ate at American diners under guard, they encountered democratic abundance. These small restaurants offered menus that would have graced elite German establishments available to anyone with modest funds. Documented prices from 1944 show hamburger 25, Coca-Cola 5, pie slice 15 cents, ice cream sundae 25, full dinner special 65 to 75. The equality of service, anyone could order anything, contradicted German social stratification. A factory worker and bank president ate identical meals at adjacent counter stools served by the same waitress for the same price. As prisoners gained access to American publications, they discovered production statistics that dwarfed German efforts. 1944 American production documented figures. Sugar approximately 7 million tons. Chocolate and cocoa products 380 million pounds military alone. Coca-Cola 5 billion bottles 1943 figure. Ice cream over 500 million gallons. Milk 119 billion. German production same period. Sugar heavily rationed primarily from beets. Chocolate military priority only. Soft drinks, minimal production. Ice cream virtually non-existent. Milk severely rationed. These numbers published openly in American media demonstrated that America's wartime production exceeded Germany's PCE peaks. By late 1944, German POWs were sending food packages to Germany rather than receiving them. Using camp wages, prisoners purchased American products to mail home: chocolate bars, instant coffee, canned goods. International Red Cross records confirm this reversal. German prisoners in America sent approximately 11 million parcels to Germany during their captivity, most containing food items. The impact on German families receiving American abundance from imprisoned relatives while they faced starvation and freedom profoundly undermined Nazi ideology. American rationing implemented during the war revealed the gulf between societies. Americans complained about sugar rationing of 2 monthly per person, more than triple the German allowance when available. American meat rationing at 28 ounces weekly per person exceeded what Germans received monthly. Even rationed, Americans maintained consumption levels Germans considered impossible luxury. The Office of Price Administration records show Americans purchased 74 of sugar per capita in 1944 despite rationing, 10 times German consumption. Beyond Coca-Cola, prisoners discovered America's soft drink industry. Pepsi Cola, Dr. Pepper, RC Cola, Orange Crush, and regional brands competed nationwide. The variety itself, multiple companies producing similar products, demonstrated market abundance impossible under German-controlled economy. Bottling plants operated in every major city. The technology, carbonation, bottling, capping, labeling was standardized and efficient. Single plants produced millions of bottles annually. The distribution network reached every small town, gas station, and grocery store. American soft drink production reached billions of bottles annually by war's end, dozens of bottles per American citizen yearly. This single industry's output exceeded entire sectors of German consumer production. Spring 1945 brought the final blow. As American forces advanced through Germany, German PS in America watched newsreels of GIs distributing chocolate and gum to German children. These children's joy at receiving American candy their own government couldn't provide completed the ideological demolition. The contrast was stark. American soldiers advancing through enemy territory carried enough candy to give away, while the German state that promised triumph delivered starvation. Films of concentration camp liberation showed American troops sharing rations with skeletal survivors, demonstrating humanity toward victims of the regime German soldiers had served. Between 1945 and 1946, German PSWs returned to a destroyed homeland. Many prisoners had gained significant weight in American captivity, while their families lost weight to starvation in German freedom. They brought knowledge of abundance to a land of absolute scarcity. Medical examinations showed German PS generally returned healthier than when captured. They returned to families weakened by deprivation. This physical evidence of American plenty versus German deprivation was undeniable. Many prisoners brought final Red Cross packages home. Chocolate, coffee, and canned goods that became family treasures. Children who had forgotten chocolate's taste received Hershey bars from fathers who had eaten ice cream regularly in prison camps. Former PWs became unexpected advocates for the Marshall Plan. They had witnessed American abundance that wasn't zero-sum, prosperity through production rather than conquest. Their testimony that Americans could afford to rebuild enemies influenced German acceptance of American aid. These men understood that American power came from productive capacity, not extraction. They had seen a society wealthy enough to waste food while fighting a global war. This mental model, creation rather than conquest, shaped West Germany's economic approach. The German economic miracle of the 1950s was partially built on knowledge gained in American prison camps. Former PWs who had witnessed American production methods, distribution systems, and consumer abundance applied these lessons to German reconstruction. They had learned that mass production could make luxuries affordable. Standardization enabled quality and efficiency. Consumer abundance created political stability. Industrial democracy could outproduce authoritarian control. These lessons learned through Coca-Cola and ice cream shaped a generation of German business and political leaders. The transformation of German PWS through American food abundance is documented in military quartermaster records, International Red Cross reports, corporate production records, particularly Coca-Cola archives, PW correspondence, censored but preserved, post-war interviews and memoirs, academic studies, particularly Arnold Kramer's extensive research. Arnold Kramer, the leading historian of German PSWs in America, concluded that food abundance was central to ideological transformation. His research confirmed that casual American plenty accomplished what formal re-education programs couldn't: complete demolition of Nazi superiority myths. The statistical summary: the numbers tell an irrefutable story. Average pea consumption 1943 to 1946. Daily calories 3,300 to 3,600. Sugar 4 monthly available. Meat 32 ounce weekly. Milk 1 quart daily available. Ice cream served regularly during summer. Soft drinks unlimited at 5 cents each. German civilian rations, same period. Daily calories, 1,200 to 1,500. Sugar, 280 g monthly when available. Meat 10.50 weekly, often unavailable. Milk severely rationed. Ice cream non-existent. Soft drinks none available. These disparities weren't propaganda, but documented reality. Enemy prisoners ate better than German civilians, proving American abundance extended even to defeated foes. The P experience with American food culture influenced post-war Germany profoundly. Coca-Cola returned to West Germany in 1949, becoming a symbol of American alliance. Ice cream parlors modeling American soda fountains appeared in German cities. Candy bars and chewing gum became symbols of recovery. Former prisoners of war often became importers of American food products, understanding their appeal from personal experience. They knew these products represented more than taste. They symbolized abundance, democracy, and modernity. The introduction of supermarkets to Germany in the 1950s was championed by former PWs who had witnessed American grocery stores. They understood that democratic abundance required new distribution methods, not just production increases. In various post-war interviews and memoirs, German PSWs consistently identified food abundance as transformative. A former Africa Corps officer stated in a 1975 interview, "We expected to defeat a weak, divided America. Instead, we found a nation that could give ice cream to enemies. That's when we knew we had lost more than a war. We had lost our entire worldview." Another veteran interview for a documentary in 1985 recalled, "My first Coca-Cola was like drinking the future. It was sweet, fizzing, completely unnecessary, and available to anyone for a nickel. That drink contained everything Nazi Germany wasn't. Abundant, democratic, joyful." These testimonies collected across decades confirm that American food abundance achieved what military defeat alone couldn't: complete ideological transformation. The men who arrived as Nazi warriors left as witnesses to democratic prosperity. Historians recognize the German P experience in America as remarkably successful re-education through abundance rather than propaganda. The program succeeded because it relied on observation rather than instruction. PS saw American society functioning at peak productivity while treating enemies with dignity. The food aspect was crucial because it was universal. Everyone understands hunger and satisfaction. Undeniable. Weight gain and health improvement were visible. Continuous 3 meals daily plus canteen purchases. Comparative prisoners knew German deprivation intimately. Every meal became a lesson in American industrial capacity. Each bottle of Coca-Cola revealed the precision of American standardization and nationwide distribution. Every ice cream sundae showed that abundance could belong to everyone, not just a privileged few. The children of former POWs grew up listening to accounts of the astonishing plenty their fathers experienced in American camps. Stories that once seemed exaggerated were later confirmed as West Germany rebuilt and American goods filled its markets. What began as camp memories became a cultural myth of American prosperity that influenced generations of German-American relations. Many sons of these prisoners later studied or built careers in the United States, drawn by their fathers' tales of unimaginable variety. When they arrived, they discovered that those stories were true: supermarkets overflowing with options, soda fountains serving elaborate sundaes, candy aisles offering dozens of brands. This influence reached far beyond personal lives. West German business culture gradually internalized principles of consumer abundance, consistent quality, and open market competition. The post-war economic miracle was not only about industrial output, it was also about creating everyday plenty for ordinary people. Today, Germany has over 1,400 McDonald's locations. Coca-Cola is everywhere. Ice cream is an everyday treat. The journey from wartime scarcity to modern abundance set in motion inside American prison camps has fully unfolded. Yet the deeper lesson endures, that ideology can be reshaped not through deprivation, but through generosity. Not by cruelty, but by kindness. Not with slogans, but with lived experience. The German POWs who once refused to believe ice cream and Coca-Cola could exist inside prison camps eventually understood democracy's quiet power, the capacity to produce so much that even enemies could share in it. Their story stands as one of history's most unusual victories, a conflict won through generosity, an ideology undone by ice cream, a worldview overturned by soft drinks. These men were changed not by punishment, but by exposure to abundance. They arrived convinced of German superiority and American weakness. They left recognizing that America's true strength flowed from an industrial engine so immense it could afford to treat its prisoners generously. The ice cream sundae, with its layers of ice cream, syrup, whipped cream, nuts, and a cherry became a symbol of American plenty. Any single ingredient would have been considered a luxury in wartime Germany. Together they represented an impossible indulgence turned ordinary. That POWs could request seconds while German children went hungry revealed the full collapse of Nazi promises. Former prisoners remembered specific turning points: the first fizz of a Coca-Cola, the first cold spoonful of ice cream, the first bite of a Hershey bar. These sensory experiences carried more weight than any lecture or argument. They had literally tasted democracy, and it was sweet. The transformation these men underwent was permanent. Soldiers who once marched for the Third Reich returned as advocates of abundance, convinced that true prosperity arose from freedom rather than conquest. They learned that America's greatest weapon was not its military, but its ability to offer ice cream even to its enemies. In the end, bottles of Coca-Cola and bowls of ice cream in American camps accomplished what armies alone could never achieve: the genuine conversion of enemy hearts and minds. The POWs who once doubted such abundance could exist became its most powerful storytellers, carrying home the truth that democracy tasted like chocolate and freedom sparkled like carbonation. Their experience reminds us that profound victories are often won not through destruction but through example, not through taking but through generous giving, not through hate but through the simple act of offering ice cream to a defeated soldier on a hot summer day. These men, transformed by American abundance, became the most unlikely ambassadors of freedom, irrevocably changed by the unbelievable reality of Coca-Cola and ice cream in wartime prison camps.